Thank you so much for watching these videos. Yes, I'm talking to you. Awesome. Crazy how this has ended up. A bit over 9,400 subscribers right now. One of the boys, Luke, that just joined the private group, was just mentioning to me that he's been watching since the iPhone recording days. So if you don't know what I'm talking about or what he's talking about there, go back and check things out when I was strapped for a bit of time and I was making my YouTube videos as recordings, and I found that a little bit easier to actually talk to a camera rather than being on the camera, and that's why we did it. So we've come a long way. I now really enjoy talking to you guys, and obviously I do it plenty, so that's where we're at the moment. And if you haven't had a look at the private group yet, guys, you've got that banner, the footer down there, but all the information is in the Discord group, so get in there in the announcement section. It's got it all there, and then how to pay is, and the Discord group, and also my JBFA NRL Fantasy Analysis Community League is also in the description as well, so get around that. Thank you again for watching. Let's get into these center cash cows, and gee, we're hoping we get someone from this price bracket, but at this stage it isn't looking great, let's be honest. So a lot of our earlier drafts had Kris Iro. We also had Ethan Strange in there. We're hoping for guys like Weeks as well, so which we'll speak about in the fullback video, which will be coming out in the next bunch of days as well. And it looks like, unfortunately, we're not going to get both of those guys, maybe one, maybe none. And so hopefully something else comes up, like a Ben Trebojevic or something like that, who is potentially an option, depending how Shush is going with his finger, not his foot. And if he's not right, if there's something to do with his attitude problem, I'm definitely going to be looking at getting Ben Trebojevic. So hopefully we get one. Unlikely for that. But we definitely need to learn more about these guys, because if they do get a spot, are we looking to get them in our sides there? Rocco Berry to kick things off in the center position at 396k. Everything under 400k is in this video, guys. If you want anything above that, go to the value and also the guns videos, and that serves for all of the different positions. I'm getting guys in the YouTube comments asking, oh, what are your thoughts on a certain guy? I've spoken about him previously. This is the second to last video covering all of the positions so far, so thanks again for watching all those. With Berry, he has an average of 31.5 in full games at center there, so a tiny little bit of upside for sure. But the few games he stepped up, he did really well. But to score this in a team that flew and did really well, it's likely a pass from us averaging that low, when you really can't expect Warriors to go up from here. It's probably the same or a slight regression with a few of their scores and just their quality NRL standard play, given there's still Panthers, there's still Broncos, there's still Storm and the like up there. It's going to be hard to get further along. Remus Smith with the Storm there in the centers at 395, the average of 28.7. So he doesn't have the meters or the tackle breaks to be relevant, even in a good team for him. Like, he's kind of hung around this position. You'll have the random couple of good games or people get excited about that, and it doesn't come to fruition. So Remus Smith will leave there. All right, Seb Chris. So here's the dual position, center and wing fullback, 395. So under 400k is pretty good if we have to spend up a little bit, right? Again, unsure at this stage. It looks like the New Zealand Pacific Test games have been taken away, but at this stage, I'm still unsure. I haven't got the correct info yet, as some people are saying he's back in round 1, and then other people are saying he's back in round 2. So once we find all that out, then that'll make this easier. But if he is back in round 1, let's pretend that is exactly what's happening here. Moving back, likely, again, if he named in the centers, that's where we want him. If he's named a fullback, he's likely going to score similar to what he did last year. So he's not someone you want to touch. But if he does happen to get the center spot and starts round 1, he has try-scoring rates of 0.9 and 0.4 in the last 2 seasons he played at center, scoring 39 in 22 and 33 in 2021. So both of those averages provide him with a little bit of value there. 5 or just under 5 in 2021 and 10 points of value in 2022. The one thing to think of here with Seb Chris and the Raiders is that they're likely to be a slightly lower team this year, missing a few of their, I suppose, experienced players. And yes, they could come out and fly, these youngsters, but it's more likely that they're going to come out and struggle a little bit. So if you do look at the 0.9 and 0.4, for a center, that try scoring rate is ridiculous. You look at centers, good centers like Lomax, and he has a 0.3. You see what, Moses Sully and his try scoring rate in the centers was as well. And it shows that one thing you look at with the Raiders there is they like to score on their edges a little bit. Seems to be at the edges and through the middle. So Hudson Young gets his tries. Josh Papali'i will get plenty through the middle there, obviously, and then the left and the right would get plenty of those tries, with the left being pretty strong with Jack White, and obviously. So that's just one example with the Dragons, guys. But there's plenty of good teams there where at max are a 0.4, 0.5 center scorer. So there's no real room for growth on that, and there's potentially some room for regression. But I suppose if you look at it and go, if he is to score at 0.4 or 0.3, that's somewhere around that 32, 33 points there per game. That's above his starting price. He has the dual position. We do have a lot of Raiders in our team at this point, but it's definitely something that could, it's going to be fine. It's not definitely wouldn't be an issue in your side. Like, there's every chance that you pick a center and they can go under what they're priced at, and Kris at this price point with the dual position, I think he's very, very helpful in your side. Like, he's unlikely to lose money at worst, and then very likely should make you some money, which is not a problem. And then you can move him from center in round 1 to wing fullback in round 2 when Jaden Campbell's out, if you wanted to. That's an example there with Seb Chris. So just have a quick look at where he's at in terms of his fullback scores there, sort of in the 20s and 30s, fairly consistent at that, but no real big ones until round 7 when he got his first try of the year. His next try, he got 44, then a 28 before, a couple of low ones, obviously a 25-minute effort, and then a couple of good scores down there, a 50, a 40, and a 55. So he definitely has the ability to put together some good scores. 2022 there, that's where he had the 0.8, but I took out the 34, and that's where he got the 34-minute games, and that's where he got the 0.9. But some decent scores in there, especially in the back end. He picked up 2 70s and a 50-odd, which is great there. And then 2021, he hadn't stepped up yet as a player, given he'd only been in the league since 2019, didn't play in 2020. He still has likely a little bit of growth in him, which is going to be cool as well. So no massive scores in that one, a 54 in a double effort and a 55 in round 2. Newcastle, Tigers, and Warriors is a pretty solid starting draw. Cronulla, Para can be fairly tough with the Broncos and Titans there. So their draw sort of middling, and it's really going to depend how well Raiders go. Can they be in like 18-16 type of games, or are they going to get blown out in certain games? And that could be a bit of a trouble. But as I said, not too much of a worry with someone like Seb Chris, and I would rather go him over someone like Jesse Arthars there, who we're going to look at in a little bit more detail in a second. But Isaac Thompson has the duel for the Bunnies, but he's likely behind Tass and Munro. He did his dash last season. Sean Russell, had a look at him. Obviously, there's a chance that he makes that side. There's Simonson, you got Hayes Dunster, Sivo's out there. There's a few, there's probably one spot up for grabs. And you look at him there, the 27.7 average. He scored a try 0.5 of the time, so half the time, and average 107 meters. I just don't think it's good enough to get up to 35. Like, he'd have to get that try scoring rate to 1 and him to really improve as a player. And I'm just not sure if that's going to happen for Shawnee. Justin Olam. So a small interest in him for sure. I think he definitely has some bounce back potential there, but not playing in round 1 at 375k. It's pretty tough to kind of start with him. So that's why I'm avoiding him at the moment. But an average of 35 in 2022 and 37 in 2021, but with the Storm compared to this Tigers side, which we need to see them improve, because try scoring rates for these outside backs, the wingers and the centers for the Tigers has been a very, very tough number to look at, that's for sure. So leave him for now. Jesse McLean, dual position as well. It'd be interesting if there were sort of 2 to 3 backs injuries, but it's not going to happen at this point, you'd imagine. Let's hope so anyway. Vaitalea with the Cowboys, so moves over at 360k. The average of 26.2. Just don't. These are the scores he had in the center position. 14. He showed his potential with a 61, then followed that with an 18, a 15, and a 24. Cool. Exactly what we want with Vaitalea, not. So, definitely has some potential, but I think he's fighting for that spot with a few guys. I just don't see it happening. Even if it does, I just don't think a 360k you can get caught with it. At 250, maybe. Aaron Shop there. 355 for him is the price. I think he had enough chances last season. He played plenty of games, over 10 there, and still mustered a 26 average. So it's a no from there. Jesse Arthars, so the dual position man, 344k. So he's 50k less expensive than Seb Chris. He had a cracking grand final, but he's obviously dual, but he's cheap for a reason, unfortunately, which is which we'll show in a second. But is that the that grand final, is that the confidence he needed to finally step up after years of scoring really average with a 24 career average at wing? He had a whopping 26 average there with a 0.5 try scoring rate and a 0.9 line break rate in a gun Broncos team in 2022. Is that something is that something he's going to keep up? I'd say so. In that good team, you'd say that that line break rate is fairly high, but a line break a game or close to it seems fair. Maybe you could get up to like a 0.7 try scoring rate or a little bit above that, but that maybe gets him up to about a 30 average. And yes, you could look at this and go, oh, okay, he's in that good team, but that good team has a pretty tough draw to kick things off as well. And I'll show you in a sec, like he just has terrible scores for a long time. A humongous 43 with a try, line break, and try saver in one game was his high last year, and has that tough start to the draw. So Jesse Arthars there, he had a reserve game. Let's pretend that doesn't exist, but lots of games in the 20s, the 15 in that one there as well. So yeah, plenty of 20s, 22, 21, 30, 28, 33. Like these are all high games where he has 2 line breaks and a try in that one. Line break try, 29. Line break try. Line break 22. That massive game I was talking about there as well. 2 line breaks and a try for 39. So yeah, and big run meters at 174. He just doesn't have the huge run meters. He's very close to 100 each time. Tackle break numbers aren't very high for him. And if they're destroying defensive lines, then he ends up going over untouched. If he does score those tries, that's where a lot of it is. And they have other workers in their back line apart from in that grand final. So that's that. Last year he had a couple of good games at center in 2022, but him on the wing, which is likely to be where he gets. It just doesn't score well enough, in my opinion. If you do go for him, there's 16% of teams that own him here in fantasy. There's 20 something in Supercoach as well. If you think he can improve on that, sweet. But otherwise he's gonna probably stay at this price. And you can say, oh yeah, consistent 20 odds, but yeah, just get that from a cheaper guy. That's for sure. Alrighty. Asuka. So I definitely have some interest in him. I just think he's a good player, but yeah, the buy in round 1, 340k. It's a tough one. So he's fighting for a spot, and we won't know until those trials. But again, he doesn't really help us in round 1, and Tigers would need to improve, I think, and he needs that center spot. So at this point, avoid, but have a look. He could definitely, if the Tigers go well, he could definitely benefit, like a lot of these Tigers, but not Brent Naden with the dual position 330k. It's another Tiger center at this point. Just avoid. We've seen over the all of the value videos and the like that the Tigers centers aren't one you want to focus on usually. Brad Parker looks like he's moving to the back row. He had a really interesting, strange reaction to his surgery. His sepsis, I believe. So he was in hospital for a couple of weeks. Not good, but not someone we want to look at, even if he does move to the back row, unless there's multiple injuries. But again, you'd be looking at Ben Trbojevic or Schuster before a Parker anyway. Does this, him moving from centre, does that leave does that leave room for the great Tommy Talau? I didn't even want to say his name, unfortunately, after what happened last year, but no. So Garrick as well moving to centre, but again, we'll talk about Tommy in a sec. Grant Anderson at 289, he's a depth man. Josh Felady is depth as well for the Tigers. Again, a Tigers centre. Rob Jennings with the Dolphins. He needs injuries at this point with the couple of signings that they end up with. Tommy Talau, I forgot to put him on the watch list, but we'll speak about him now anyway. Dual position, again, 265k, average 19 in the games that he played last year. Obviously, most of them in starting. Definitely a better team. Will there be more opportunities? Yes, for sure. You all know you're just going to start with him if he gets to start, right? You know that. Come on. Don't pretend you won't. 26 career average. 23 last season. Some small value all around, obviously with the DPP, 4 points on his starting average. And at a better team. Is it Talau season? Look, there's definitely potential for him to average like a 25 to 28, somewhere there, right? And that would be a little bit of value, dual position, cover, better team. Could benefit for sure, but it's scary. I'd rather start, in terms of guys that burnt us last year, I'd rather start with Brandon Smith than I'd start with Talau. But if there's no cheapie options, he could be one of them, which would be funny. So I'll add him to the watch list. I was just trying to block him out when I was going through it, that's for sure. So that's Tommy Talau in that one. Nick Kotrick, Dual position as well, 261. I just think there's a few to compete with him. And if Seb Chris is likely back in round 1 or 2, I think that Kotrik's going to be the one to make way, I would say there. He likely going to be an average team with Raiders as well. And we'll speak about Ethan Strange in a sec, and sort of no idea where Kris is going to slot back in. If he's round 2, it's like, is he going to play fullback? Is he going to play center? It's hard to work out there for sure. I just think he's a risky pick if he's there round 1 for multitude of reasons, given he averaged 22 last season as well. So Nick Kotrick there, not a super ideal pick, I don't think, there for sure. And it's a few years now since he's been a very, very good winger, center, definitely a winger. Zach Sini, depth as well with the Eels. Shout out to anyone who started with him. Brought him in that week. Brought him in after they got the double. Harley Smith-Shields, small interest on him for me, but obviously the Titans buy in round 2 is pretty yuck there for sure. Averaged 18 last year. It was a very, very tough season for him, making 10 errors in the 6 games that he played. And he did show talent in 2021, and it was on the wing. So moving to the Titans from the Raiders, if he does play, he's definitely an option as a bounce back guy with a 36 average on the wing, averaging 124 meters. So that's, it's really good numbers there. You look at that on the wing, which we'll change to that now in the filter by position. And what you're looking at there is 2 games where he had 68 and 76 meters, and his lowest outside of that in the 7 games that he played was 135. So very, very consistent between 135 and 151 for the other games. And that showed with the scoring here. His lowest of 25 and 27 without tries, and 3 of the other games there he did score tries. And the other 2 that he didn't, he got a 36 and a 31, one of them with a line break. So overall, pretty solid. Had 1 game where he scored a try and had 2 line breaks and a try assist as well. So a big game, but 68 at that. So if he was to get an opportunity, they have the Dragons, obviously the bye, Dogs, Dolphins, Cows, Canberra in their starter. So he wouldn't be the worst person to slot in, but we do want him on the wing. If he was to get a wing slot, then we also have him as a dual position guy. But he's obviously got Khan Pereira and the like to try and fight for a spot with, that's for sure. You got Katolga with the Dogs. He's a depth signing at the moment. Ethan Strange, guy we've wanted to speak about for a while. We obviously know a little bit about him from Cup, from 19's Origin, all the like there. But he averaged 9 in his 1 game that he played last year, which is absolutely beautiful. 30.6 is his New South Wales Cup average. Between interchange games, he had 2 of those. He had centre, 6, and 1 win game. So he played a little bit everywhere, which is a little bit annoying just because you'd want him kind of perfecting his role, whether it be centre, whether it be 6. He has good tackle break numbers, which is plenty of anywhere between 3 and 7 in those games there. 3, 4s, 5, 6, 7. You get the gist. With only 2 games over 100 meters, though, is a bit of a pain. So he does have pretty good defensive stats. We do want him in the 6 jersey so he can show off that those defensive efforts and potentially, his try assists and the like. So he's definitely a guy to watch in the trials. He's owned by 36% of the teams at the moment. Just watch. I'm not sure if he's actually going to get that position. It's going to be him all weeks, it looks like. They both are the 2 fighting for that 6 role. So try not to have both in your team right now. But in round 24 against the Storm, they did get pummeled. So 48-2. So take this one with a grain of salt. But 9 fantasy points, 8 tackles, 4 misses. So just got given an absolute bath there. 2 tackle breaks, 1 offload, 2 errors, and a penalty, 73 meters gained. So pretty yuck game for him. Obviously a young start, and you'd hope that he'd be able to have a better start and they don't get pumped 48-2. But look, it's definitely potential in this team for them to get beat comfortably in certain games. Like if their defense is not up to standard, then they could for sure. But they're usually a team that is in better defensive form than that. That's for sure. Let's go next to Schiller. He's a depth man as well at the Raiders. And Kris Iro, so 230k, that little bit cheaper, which is nice, with Strange being at 250, given he played. But he had 1 game at the end of 22. He scored a 47 with 12 tackle breaks and 5 errors. Absolutely incredible there. 6 tackles for no misses, 12 tackle breaks. That just looks amazing for a winger. But 5 errors. He had a turnover tackle, 5 kick to fields, and 184 meters. So as you'll see in a second, when we talk about his New South Wales Cup stats, he's a great runner of the footy, and that is shown, but hands aren't great, obviously, there as well. And look, he hasn't played since, and that was a year and a half ago now, at the back end of 2022. So let's see how, if he can make this side. And at this point, I don't think he will. But if he does get it, he's the one I am most excited about, given he's a cracking runner of the footy in a really very, very good Sharky side. Well, attacking side anyway. But yeah, wow. Average 55.7 in 3 games for Cook Islands at fullback, which again just shows his ability to run the footy. There was games of 200 meters, 220 and the like. But he's fighting for the spot. I'm just still not sure if he gets it. But let's just keep him on the watch list, guys. I'm definitely interested if he can get that spot. And then all of the rest of the guys, Semrani there, Karapani, Toa, something like that, Gabriel, and then Tamale are all depth guys and shouldn't come into anyone's factor. But yeah, center watch list. We've got Kris Iro at the highest upside. Seb Chris with the consistency in the duel. Strange. He's cheap with some upside for sure. We'll chuck Tommy Talau in there as well. Cheap, dual position. Likely a bit of value in a better team. Arthars in there next at 5 with the dual. Does he get better? Not sure. And then Harley Smith Shields with the 2022 form reversal. So that's the center position all done and dusted, guys. I hope that was very helpful for you guys. Again, if you're interested in the private group, DM me. All the information's in there. All of it's clearly written in the Discord, which is the best place to find it all, and with all the ways to pay and everything like that. We just picked up another 10 or 12 people in there over the last few days, so that's awesome. I hope you enjoyed this one, guys, and we'll see you in, well, this is the start of February now, so good. See you in the next video.